Hey guys, T.O. here with Simplistic Fishing. Hey, today we're going to go over part 2 of the Ray Hubbard pre-spawn strategy. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus from the golf course all the way down to around I-30. This should have some good spots for you to check out. Lots of good pre-spawn areas. I'll talk to you guys about what's worked good for me as well as other areas that I think you should definitely check out. So stick around. We're going to have some good stuff for you, and make sure you hit that subscribe button before we get started. Take care.
All right, let's get this started for part 2 of Ray Hubbard pre-spawn. Now, if you missed the first video for part 1 of Ray Hubbard pre-spawn, we really focused on the river up here and the major flats. So if you didn't get a chance to watch that video, just click the link above. That'll take you there, or you can just click the playlist for lake breakdowns or 2021 simplistic videos, and you can find it there as well. It's just called Ray Hubbard pre-spawn strategy part 1. So this will be Ray Hubbard pre-spawn strategy part 2. So what I want to do is I'm going to skip kind of this section of the lake, and we're going to go down to where the golf course is, which is right here. And we're going to focus on that point off the golf course all the way down to 30 for this video. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and dive right in here to this golf course. This is the Shores Golf Course, or Rockwall Golf Club, I think is what it's called now. But there's a nice point that comes right off of there, and that is a good place for them to start staging up. I would imagine that they're probably going to tuck in here and do some spawning all up in here. Anything that's north facing is always going to be a lot better for you, right? So I'm not saying that they're not going to spawn in other coves that are not north facing, but if they're north facing, that's definitely a bonus. So I know this is a pond in here. I've never actually tried to get my boat up in here. I'm not too much on bed fishing, but if I were to go up in there and look for some spawning fish, I might try to see if I can get the boat up in there. That's like a pond by the golf course, but that's probably a really good area. There's a lot of rock right around in here, and this point will produce for you pretty good too. And notice that there's a creek bed coming through here too, so that's always a fish attractor as well. So moving on down, I don't do a lot of fishing on either sides of these areas. I just haven't had a lot of luck, fishing this bank line, so I've kind of avoided it. But I will say on this side, on the west side, right here in this pocket right here, we've got a Cottonwood Creek that comes through here, and you've got a lot of lily pads and junk that's up here. It's a little bit difficult to get to when you get up here, but I have seen some beds up in here as well. So definitely I would look at, focusing on the outer edges here, anything that's going to take them into there. So if they're not in spawn, they're going to be somewhere close, right? So look at those secondary points. If there are any, Hubbard's a little bit tougher. There's not really any secondary points. So here, if we know they're spawning back in here, then we're probably just going to pull back a little bit, look over here, maybe look over here. There's somewhere in here that they're going to be starting to stage up on before they pull into that pocket. You may also want to check out this pocket. It's got a couple creek beds that come in here. There's not a lot in there. I've never really caught any fish in there, but when it comes to spawning, it's totally different. When they move shallow like that, they could be anywhere. So it might be worth checking out. Probably not a high probability spot though. So moving on down. Another area that I would try would also be these little rock points that are right here. It's possible they could come up in here and spawn, so they could be staging here for sure. So I would definitely work around these points, see if you have any luck within there. Also on 66 riprap, I know that they have to spawn somewhere up in here. There's some grass by the boat ramp. I see people fishing over there all the time. I just wonder if the fish would even spawn there with all the activity. But I do know that those fish are related to 66. And I don't know the facts on whether bass actually spawn on the rocks or not. But it sure seems like that they like to stage up on these rocks. And maybe they're not staged. Maybe they are staged. Maybe they're just moving their way back to one of these pockets, and I'm just happen to catch them on the riprap. But never forget that the riprap will produce, even in pre-spawn, you can still catch a lot of fish off the riprap. So don't forget about the riprap. All right, moving on down. This is a nice little pre-spawn area too as well. If you look, we've got a major creek channel coming here, and then we've got these other little creek beds. Well, you got this nice little point that comes off here. It's got a nice little drop off. I could see them setting up in there and then maybe moving back in here to do some spawning as well. So it would definitely be worth checking out that area. These little coves, all these coves along this side are all going to produce well for you, especially during the pre-spawn and the spawning season. On this one, I believe you've got a little bit of some debris or like some stick-ups that are in the middle. I would check that out. Definitely flip around all those, see if they're staging up there, and then work on the outsides of these coves. Now, if they're not on the outsides, then obviously, tuck in, and see if it's warmer in there. If it is, they might have already moved in there, but just work the outsides of these. You're going to have a lot more success. Moving on up, it's the same thing. We call this the 5-pounder hole. I've caught a lot of good fish out of this little pocket here, so I know they spawn up in here. So again, if they're not up in the cove, up in shallow, they're probably just off. So just back off a little bit and work these little points, work these outsides of these coves, and you're probably going to have a lot more success. Again, same thing here. Got good creek going back in there, a little bit of cover you can flip and stuff like that. But if they're not back there, they're going to be up here, right? Probably, they're usually on the more gradual points. So, this is hard to say which point they would be on, but I would definitely check out both of them. Same thing here. And then moving on down, we get over here where this is a nice little, it's like a flat with some rock and things like that we talked about. They do like to spawn up in here, right? Because again, it's not really north facing, but it's protected from that north wind, and that's what is the key. So if we scroll on down in here, there's a couple different spots that I'd like for you to check out. One is right here. You can see there's a little hump here. I would check out the back side of this, or maybe even the front side. They're going to be on one side or the other. And then I would move over here and I would fish all of this right in here, all of this pond dam and everything. They've got to be somewhere right in here. They've got to be. Just don't know where, but they're somewhere in there. So check that out. All right, so moving on over, we talked about the west side of the lake. Let's talk about the east side of the lake now. Now, over here, we've got Harper Bay Marina. We know those fish love Harper Bay Marina. And also, before I go here, you've got all this riprap. Again, don't forget about the riprap. If you can't find them on the outsides of these pockets or in the pockets, and you need to catch some fish, and there's nothing else that you can do, just bail out, go to the riprap, get your keepers, get your 5, and then go back and start searching for that big one, right? So just don't lose focus. There's always fish on the riprap on Hubbard, always. All right, so moving over to Harper Bay Marina. Again, pretty shallow in here. Now, if you tuck back behind here, we got a pretty good flat in here. I could see them possibly spawning in this area, so they could be staging up on the rocks out here. This could be a good area too. You see this little drop off here? They could be staging up in here before they come in here, possibly. So take a look at that. And then when you get into Harper Bay Marina, if you go all the way to the very back, right back in here is a really good area to focus in the springtime. So anything in there, if they're not in the back of there, again, you're looking at just pulling back off. They're going to be somewhere close to that area, right? Probably right around in here, because you got a nice gradual point that comes off. They could be staging up here right before they go in here to have some fun. So take a look at that and really focus on areas like that, where you've got it protected from the wind. I mean, this is the best protected wind area probably in this whole area. It's got docks protecting them, and they've also got this whole point protecting it. So that's going to be a good area to be spawning. One more area that I probably check out just as you're as you're scrolling over here, and I've only had luck up here in the springtime. And I'll say that because I just don't want you to spend too much time up here, because it just hasn't produced a lot of fish for us over the time. But it's got to be pretty decent, right? You got a pretty good flat up here on both of these, and you've got some grass and some cover and stuff like that. So it might be worth going up there and playing around. If you're tournament fishing, maybe pre-fish that area and see if it's producing. If it's starting to produce fish, it'd be worth fishing. But if not, I wouldn't spend a lot of time there. And then as far as this bank line goes, the rest of the bank line, just haven't found anything there that was productive for me, so I don't spend a lot of time over there. If I were to be looking for areas of pre-spawn, the one area that I would look for on this side would obviously be a corner that's facing north, right? So it's protected from the wind. I'm looking for a shallower flat, which would be right around in here. And I'm looking for some type of like a gradual break. So if I were to look at this corner and say, where am I going to fish this corner? I would probably start right here off of this break, because you got a shallow flat that comes out and then just kind of breaks off. See if maybe they're staging here before they go into that pocket. Now, I've never fished that before, but just looking at the map, that looks like something that I would try. And then obviously I would get out here on the riprap and burn around that and see what I can find. Maybe they're setting up there before they go into the coves. So guys, that really wraps us up for the section between basically the golf course and I-30 on where I would focus for pre-spawn. I hope you guys stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe for me. Really appreciate it. I want to keep doing these lake breakdowns for you. And I'd love to hear your comments. Like, I'm not going to be able to give you all my honey holes, but I'm going to give you at least some direction on how to fish, not only this lake, but we'll be posting more videos on other lakes as well. But just want to know if this is helping you. If it is, we'll continue to do these. If not, we'll do other videos that you want to see. Just please give us some comments and make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Next week, we'll be advertising for the third part of Ray Hubbard. So part 3, Ray Hubbard for pre-spawn, and that's going to be pretty much anything from 30 all the way down to the dam, and then going to the Bass Pro side. You guys know me, I don't do a lot of fishing on this side of the lake, on the Bass Pro side of the lake. It's something that I'm going to get into this year, and I'm going to share with you guys the successes that we have up there. But for right now, we're just going to focus on these 3 areas. So the area that we did for Ray Hubbard part 1, if you missed that, click that video. Part 2 we just covered today, and part 3 will be coming soon, and that's going to be down here. This is going to be more later towards the springtime. So hey guys, appreciate all your support. We'll talk to you soon. Tight line.